Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast. I'm Aditya Girish Pawate. I'm a recent graduate from IIT Kharagpur, and I've always wanted to go into these high frequency trading companies. So they are really competitive. So I remember in my batch, around less than 1% of the people got into HFTs. But today in our podcast, we have Archisman Pathak. He's a computer science graduate from IIT Kharagpur. He's my batchmate and my friend. And so we'll just get into the details of like why HFTs pay so much and how his experience at NK Securities has been and so on. So let's get started with the podcast. Hi Archisman, how are you doing? And you're tuning in from Gurgaon, right?
Yeah, hi Aditya. So yeah, I'm doing well. I hope you are also doing well. Today I'm tuning in from Gurgaon, India. That's right. Yeah,
That's nice. Most of the high frequency trading companies are in Gurgaon only, I guess, right? Some are
yeah.
in
Most
Mumbai
of
also.
a couple of them are in Mumbai. A couple of them have branches in Bangalore as well for the software developer roles. But yeah, most of them are right as of now concentrated in and around Gurgaon actually.
Okay, that's nice.
So like
So,
our office
mhm.
itself, our office building itself has three high HFTs in it.
Okay. So all like in the same floor, different
Yeah, in the
floors.
same building, different floors.
That's interesting. That's nice. So yeah, I think let's get started with the first questions. Like, firstly, like why do these high frequency trading companies pay so much? And basically, what kind of role is there? Like, what work do they do, and how do they generate so much revenue that they pay so much? Like, I remember one of my friend who got into Graviton. He got a compensation about 1.2 to 1.8 crores. And I've seen most of the HFTs have a base of around 40 lakhs. So how do they give so much money to freshers that to just right out of college, right? Yeah, let's get started with that.
Yeah. So let's break your questions into parts, I think. So your first question, I guess, was about the roles that are there in an HFT firm. So a HFT firm is in its core not a financial firm; it's a technical firm. Okay. So just like in any technical firm, you're going to have so there are primarily two technical guys that you would have in an HFT firm, and that is
Hmm.
going to reciprocate all the way up to the directors actually. So one of them is going to be a software guy or a
Okay.
systems guy. The other person is going to be a quant guy, right? Or
Hmm.
girl, of course. So the software or the systems guy is responsible for the entire software stack, that is the entire trading stack, the latencies of the trading stack, the efficiency of the trading stack, right? That is what
Hmm.
the software guy is responsible for. And the quant guy is responsible for the strategies on which you are trading, right? The strategies which are going to generate the money for you. So
Okay.
these are primarily the two roles. Apart from that, there is also another role of a trade monitor, right? Specifically, our HFT NK Securities has a trade monitor role, which is basically who manually supervise the trading that is going on throughout the day, right? If
Hmm.
you have to do any kind of corrective action or if you have to intervene in the strategy, right? Manually intervene in the strategy, then you can do that, right? The trade monitors usually do that. And there is also standard business team, right? Who are responsible for making sure uh, clearing the roadblocks in the business expansion, right? When you are
Hmm.
expanding to multiple exchanges, you are going to face roadblocks, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the business team is responsible for setting all those things up, right? Getting the hardware in place, talking to exchanges, getting the record authorization. So these are primarily the rules that are there in a HFT form,
Hmm.
in a proprietary HFT.
Cool. So the next part, like how do they generate so much revenue and like how do they pay so much for freshers also?
Right. So I think the pay is essentially uh, the high pay is essentially the result of competition between HFTs for getting the best talent pool that is available, right?
Hmm.
So the if you want to get the best talent pool, then you also have to get the best rewards possible, right? Best comp possible.
Hmm.
And the best comp in itself is possible because of the fact that first of all, HFTs earn quite a significant amount of money throughout the day. And every day you are talking about earning in a couple of crores every day, okay?
Okay.
And they have a really small human strength as it is, right? They would be
Hmm.
around 70 to maybe a couple 70 to 100 200 ish type of strength, most Indian
Hmm.
executives. thesis their stream, right? So you do the
How many
math
people
yourself.
do you have, like in NK Securities?
It's 70-ish, like around
70-ish,
like
okay. And you
70
would
other
say that is
HFTs.
a
But
decent size for any high frequency
yeah,
trading company.
that's a good size. But you would naturally have bit bigger teams as well as you
Hmm.
expand. But even then, it's around 200 to 50 as a so you just do the math yourself, divide that some around 3 to 4 or 5 CR uh, by around
The
200
number of people,
people.
huh?
Then you get how much amount of money you can spend per person.
Hmm.
At Boston, so there you can essentially come at the reason for the feasibility of that high. So pay because they can pay. They have the capacity to pay that much. And this is
Hmm.
also a competition between the HFTs to get the best talent, right?
Hmm.
So pay
Hmm.
becomes a demarketing factor there, right? For at least the campus placements.
Yeah, that is definitely true. So there are two angles to it. One is about the competition between the HFTs, which pump up at least the freshers' salaries. And second one is
Right.
since they're generating so much revenue, you'll have to give it to your even if not for freshers, you'll have to give it to your senior people at least, right? There's a lot of
Absolutely.
revenue that is there. So the next question, which is a kind of follow up, is like, how do they generate so much revenue? Like, what exact strategies are applied? Like, in the current market, how is it different from any trading firm, like an investment bank or any other firm? How is it different? Even they, I believe, they employ some strategies and they monitor funds and all that. So in high frequency, what is the competitive edge that these high frequency trading companies have that make such high revenues?
Right. So I think so first of all, the detail lies in the terms itself. The high frequency traders trade at a very high frequency, right? What does that mean? That in every second they would be probably doing a large number of trades, right? They would be completing trades in microseconds, right?
Hmm.
Your decent standard trade would take around some 200, 300 microseconds at most, right, for it to complete end to end.
Okay.
So you see, then you have you get this economic of scales, right? So in every trade, suppose you get a very small money, right? But you
Hmm.
keep doing it again, trade after trade, and on a large quantity. Then kind of keep accumulating the profits, of course. Right? There are also techniques. There would also be chances for risk, of course. But your strategies are built so that you don't accrue that losses over time. So
Hmm.
primarily, a lot of there are various kinds of strategies that are employed. I personally, being a software developer, I don't deal with these strategies on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, so the on an overall level, the type of strategies are something like market making, arbitrage. Then there will be some taking strategies. All of those exist in the market, right? And they are different HFTs do different employ different kind of strategies, right? Depending upon their expertise. Market making happens to be a fairly common strategy that most HFT players do. So what they
Hmm.
do is that they infuse liquidity into the market, just like institutional investors do, right? So
Hmm.
suppose you are wanting to trade for a certain token, right? If you want to buy some, let's just say some popular token that is trading nowadays, right? Let's just say just startup hour or something like that, right? So
Hmm.
for buying that stock, you would prefer someone to be selling that stock, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's so this is where HFT players actually come in, right? They infuse the liquidity into the market. So it's likely that if you are buying, then the other side, that is the selling, is being done by a HFT player, or if you are selling, then the buying is being done by a HFT player. So that's how they help. And this price difference between buy and sell is the money that they pocket, right?
Okay,
Is
that is called spread, right? If I believe.
yeah, that is the spread. Yeah, that is the
Nice,
spread.
nice.
So
So
that is
basically,
the spread.
if I understand it correctly, like you offer like both buy and sell, and there is a gap between that. Like you obviously create a profit between that, and whoever wants to buy, you're ready to sell. And
Right.
that's how you make create liquidity in the market and market make. This is
Absolutely.
only called market making, right?
So you will always have some orders on the tokens, and the difference between the bid and ask, right? The bid ask spread that
Hmm.
you are quoting, that is going to be the money that you earn from that order there.
Okay. And since you're creating a huge volume of transactions, like even the small difference will create huge amounts of profits,
Yeah,
right?
so the small difference is going to get accumulated throughout the trading day and it's going to lead to a bigger revenue at the end of the day. So that's the
Okay.
basic idea. You keep
Hmm.
accumulating the spreads at every tick or every
Okay, okay.
order,
Hmm.
and that is essentially going to be the profit. So it's
Hmm.
at the end it's basically more testing simulation. The quant people do all of that. They devise a strategy and see how much profits they are actually generating,
Hmm. Okay,
and
okay.
they can improve that or not by using different type of techniques.
Okay. My next question would be like, why are these HFTs so popular right now? Like maybe like 10 years before, I don't think they were so famous, at least in India. And why are these HFTs coming up and rising at a huge pace? And I believe like there are so many new companies which are formed, like NK Securities, when was it formed? Recently, right? Or like in the past
Yeah,
5 years
recently, but
only?
this maybe yeah, in less than 5 years actually.
So
So
like
that's
just tell
that's
us like why is this happening?
So see the actual reasons for the rise of HFT or any economy, for example, is very subjective and it's very deeply ingrained, right? But
Hmm.
overall key pointer would be that if you see the stock exchanges of India, the National Stock Exchange or the Bombay Stock Exchange, these two primary stock exchanges of India, then both of these are having a exploding volumes, right?
Hmm.
So if you see the volume chart of NSE, right, you would see that every 1 or 2 years the volumes are currently doubling, right? In the at least in the derivative segment, right?
Hmm.
So the in derivative segment, these quantitative firms actually do real well by the nature of the derivative segment.
Okay.
So it's like twin factors, right? So first of all, the volumes is exploding in the derivative segment, and the retail investors are also heavily investing in stocks, and
Hmm.
that so as and when and so the volume is expanding, right? How is the volume expanding? The volume is expanding as a result of demand, right? So people
Hmm.
wish to invest more money into the exchange. So when you wish to expand invest more money, then you would need someone again, as I said, like if you want to buy, you need someone to sell, right? So you
Hmm.
naturally understand that there is a demand for market makers that is arising,
Okay.
which is
Hmm.
where these HFT firms are coming up, right? So since there is exploding volumes, there is exploding demand, there is exploding need for these HFT firms, and hence it's just the supply and demand chain, right? So there
Hmm.
is a demand, so hence the HFT firms have risen up to give the supply. This is my take on the entire issue, of course.
Okay. Okay.
And it
That that's.
could be flawed, but yeah, I think at its core, this is what it is. Right? But since the volumes are expanding, there are more trades being done and more spreads that you can earn from every trade, more spreads that is being earned as a result of that, and hence the revenues are increasing for the HFT commerce.
Hmm. That
So
that's
it's just a
interesting.
cycle. Just like in all economies, it's all about cycles, right? Cycles
Hmm.
that keep on reinforcing each other or reinforcing each other, right? So it's one just case of that. So
Hmm.
just like you have more volumes, then that is again leading to more people investing. It's like circular. Since the stock market is moving up, more people are investing, and it's going on.
Hmm. I
That's what I
agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree to that. And like, do you think there are any differences between Indian HFTs which are coming right now and the well-established like foreign HFTs, uh, like London-based Citadel and Optiver?
uh, of course, there are lots of there would be lots of differences. First of all, the teams in Indian HFTs won't be so organized, right? So
Hmm.
it's like comparing it's a standard comparison of maybe startup software development company versus a big company like
Well-established
Microsoft.
big company. Okay.
Well, so it's the same is true as well, right? Okay, so here also there would be some people who are doing some great work, right? They were
Hmm.
doing a lot of good analysis and all those kind of things. But at the same time, since it's a small company, you won't have that kind of demarcation between work. You won't have that kind of organization between work. Whereas in big companies like Citadel, Chain, Street, etc.,
Hmm.
those would have already been accomplished, right? The internal tool systems would have already been defined to the best level possible.
Hmm.
So which won't be the case here. So it's just depending upon your taste what do you like more? You would like to work on a more refined product, a very refined problem
Hmm.
area that would be given to a big company, or you want to learn the entire stack, right? Because if you are in an HFT company, there is a Indian HFT company, there is a high chance that you would get to know the entire stack from
Hmm.
end to end. Since it's such a small scale, you would have to look at almost everything. If you were, for example, if you're a software developer, then you have to look at all aspects of a software development. Right? You would have to look
Hmm.
at the trading, you have to look at some parts of IT, you have to look at some part of networks, all of that.
Hmm. Yeah, coming
So
to that,
that
like in NK, you're in the software development role. So, what exactly do you do, and like how is it different from well-established companies like working in Google, Microsoft, or something?
right. So if you talk about that, so the work in an HFT is actually, at least in an HFT firms, I believe, is significantly different from the software development company in the sense that, first of all, your tech stack is core C++, right? That is because, and your work is very much centered around the core computer science principles, right? Which is so like, yeah, day in and day out you have to deal with networks and OS concepts. All of that is required. So you have to, since you have to develop the agenda is essentially to develop software for trading, right? So which is very fast. Right. So a lot of concepts for doing low latency programming actually comes into the picture, right? Which is not
Yeah.
entirely applicable for the big tech companies, right? So for the big tech companies who are making, for example, user facing apps, their
Hmm.
user experience is the main criteria, right? Not
Hmm.
how low latency is. For them, it would matter that your end to end time taken is some 5 microsecond or 6 or 7 microsecond. Right? That's all
Hmm.
order for them. It's all order of same.
Hmm.
But then trading stack, when you're talking about that, a 5 microsecond delay to a 7 microsecond delay means a competitive loss of edge, right? So
Yeah.
if other participants are at 5.4 microseconds and you drop from 5 to 6 microseconds, then you essentially lost the game, right?
Makes sense. Makes
Hence,
sense.
Hence, since of course, since the aims are very different, right? Since there
Hmm.
are no clients here, proprietary trading firm is only going to trade for itself. There are not going to be any clients, so to speak.
Hmm.
So so you don't have to worry about what how uh, means how good the user experience is and all those kind of things. Right? All you care about is how fast your system is, and you try to optimize this, optimize that as most as you can, right? As far as you can. So in that way,
Hmm.
of course, that the very thinking itself is very different from
The normal
how normal software developer is
normal software development. Yeah, that makes sense. You have to build softwares which run in low latency and those
how
kind of you'll need all the
as low as
core
it can be, right?
CS.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so we have to basically optimize the entire trading stack from the networks to the rightmost, of course, the high level C++ code that we do. All of that has
Hmm.
to be as high as
Optimized,
possible.
yeah. So that you
Yeah, and
can
you have to
obviously that
uh,
like even if you have a microsecond delay, right? You might lose on some trades or something, right?
absolutely. And you also have to choose the best hardware possible, right? You have to
Hmm.
constantly be on the lookout for better hardware if it is arriving on the markets, right? You need to be
Hmm.
in touch with hardware companies and see how you can use their hardware to the best level possible, right?
Okay.
So,
And
so
I think like the way this is different from a normal startup, tech startup would be that I don't think you guys use AWS and Google Compute and all, right? Or do you use
no,
them?
no. Matlab, you can use them if you are running simulations on them, but
You actually buy hardware and you install it
yeah,
so that because you want to optimize on the latency
yeah,
and all that.
matlab,
That's
so
why.
obviously if you are making a live system, then your live system would be trading from the Google or GCP or AWS.
Hmm.
Your your live system would be situated at the co-location centers of the exchanges, right? Your
Okay.
own servers would be situated there. So yeah, you have to choose the hardware for that. And you have to kind of
Hmm.
see when you can adapt that hardware for your software, so as to
Okay.
get the best possible latencies. Actually. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
As
sense. Hmm.
and apart from that, since a software developer role would also involve since all HFTs are fairly small, so you would also need to think upon the various aspects of like setting up various maybe data centers and all those type of things.
Hmm.
So you would also be working with that. For example, we work with that. We also work with our own data center and how we can set that up, how we can expand that. All of those things also we at times do that. But primary work is always the developing the trading stack for exchanges.
Understood, understood. That's nice. So, typically, like during your work, how draining is it? Because since I believe that if they're paying more, they want more work to be done. And I talked to a couple of friends. I actually like actually didn't agree. So, how draining is your work? And like, just give us the timings. How when do you go back? When do you come back? And when do
Uh,
you go and when do you come back? And like usual day, typical day, and how difficult is the work? And yeah, just tell us about that.
yeah, so it actually varies. Some days are going to be heavy, some days are going to be light. If you have something breaking in the morning, then you have to fix that in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
before the trading level. So that is in the morning periods just before 9 are going to become a bit more hectic for you. Then you would have normal development going on throughout the day. That is there. Deadlines vary from company to company how hard they impose the deadlines. But yeah, the work is always there. There is always a good amount of work to be done. There is a lot of self study also that you can do. So there is that also. Um, so so it would be I would like go at around 9 and come back at around 7, 7:30 on a normal
On
day
a
as well.
typical day. Okay.
On a typical I could also pull it a bit back and come back at 6:30 if I pushed it
If
to
you're
extreme
finished.
itself.
Yeah, yeah. And
Just to be a bit.
do you have like do you trade only in Indian markets and all? Because like in the
We are
middle of the
expanding as
night,
I
in the middle of the
yeah.
night, if some production breaks, like will you be called since there's very less
We
number
don't
of
have
people?
middle of night, but yeah. So no, so we are expanding right now to
Okay,
the
so only Indian
morning slot.
market you work on. So that's why
Right now as of now.
work
So no,
only
we
on
are
Indian
starting
timing.
to we are starting to trade on foreign markets, and for that we have dedicated teams who are essentially more who come at night times, who are come at
Different time.
times for those exchanges, right? That's how
Okay,
it's
okay.
going on.
Makes sense, makes
So
sense.
it's all fairly dynamic right now, and let's see what happens, how things get concretized to a couple of months down the line. So let's see.
That's
But yeah, so
interesting.
that's how the work work pressure is. It's dynamic, so to speak. Some days, of course, if you see that if you are supposed to deliver something by the end of the day and you find that you made some mistake, then there is you have to work longer hours to fix that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
that is obviously expected of you if you're
yeah
working in a company like that. Yeah. Finally, I think some of the like yeah, you got NK Securities through your internship, right? So
yeah
like if you could just shed some light on if somebody is preparing for HFT specifically. Maybe you specified about the two roles, right? I am not sure how different the preparation strategies would be, but if you could share on like if somebody is just preparing for their internship or placements, what do HFTs look for and how can one prepare well for them specifically?
right. So talking about my HFT, my company actually. So NK Securities is this year at least given two campuses with three technical roles. So one was the software, I think it was a software developer. One was quantitative research, and another was the if I'm not wrong, the hardware researcher.
Okay.
So the hardware researcher is a new role that they have floated this year, which is primarily for people who actually are very interested in doing hardware optimizations. Right? They are very interested in looking at the latest hardware that is in the market right now, how you can work with that hardware, and how we're getting in touch with those companies and getting to know about the nuances of that hardware, how they differ from the previous generations, and how you can apply those, right?
Hmm.
So the doing kernel optimizations and things like those, right? That's why that role was floated from this year. Apart from that, there is obviously the HFT developer, that is the high frequency trading stack developer role.
Hmm.
It's software developer and the quantitative researcher for the quants, right?
Hmm.
So so talking about the SD, SD hiring tends to be heavily from the circuitous branches, almost exclusively from the circuitous branches, and even the circuitous branch, CS is given a very high preference actually.
Hmm.
Your CG matters a lot when you are preparing for a software developer role because primarily of the nature of the work, obviously, right? So when your nature of the work involves a lot of system stuff, like a lot of OSM networks,
Hmm.
and object-oriented programming, you have to do day in and day out. So it helps to recruit those who have a good CV, right? Because they have done well in those courses and in pretty much
Hmm.
all of the CVs, right? So that's it. So the high CG and good, of course, good coding skills are are always good. And
Hmm.
then you would need to be proficient in C++ plus plus and object-oriented programming. So all of these things are essentially checked in the interview, whether you are good in all of these or not. This
Okay.
it's nothing out of the like out of the entire placement preparation journey, but I think what other software development firms don't check is the core CS knowledge, which these HFT
जी
industries
sir.
heavily check. They
Because it's
heavily
heavily
have.
used, right? They have to
Yeah,
check.
it's heavily. So you have to be thorough about caches, right? When you are working in a HFT firm, because caches
Hmm.
matter a lot, right? Computer architecture matters a lot, right? Interrupts matter a lot. So if you have not read these in your courses, then you won't probably get a thorough understanding. Right? And then you have to come and prepare for that, and just bottlenecks, right? So
Hmm.
why bother having those bottlenecks? Right? So that's why they try to get this clear in the interview process itself. So
Okay.
that's from the software developer at least. And hardware research, as I told, it's at least this year how they are hiring is the general knack for hardware. A guy who is like in general built stuff around FPGA has been working with kernels, maybe has built their own kernels from source, done some work on them, qualifies as a good guy for them, right? Apart from general proficiency in like the OS and computer architecture and networks,
Hmm.
he would qualify for the hardware essential. And for quant, it's a very they just check how well your thinking is, right? How structured
Okay.
and how quick you are when you're thinking, right? How good you are solving puzzles or uh, breaking down difficult problems. So they would ask you puzzles and problems to test that out, maths problems to
Hmm.
test that. That's how
Usually,
they
like for
get.
all the roles, I think they require high coding skills, like code forces, code
Yeah,
chef, and all that, right?
yeah. That is always there.
So
That is
how
always.
like how good were you in that? And
Uh,
like if
so so the means comp coding as you speak is becoming less important for the software developer groups since
oh.
they realize that comp coding you are not going to be doing comp coding type of software development.
Hmm.
Your general basic skill will be checked, right? So if you are familiar with all the basics and your object-oriented programming knowledge will be checked. That if you are thorough in C++, OOPS concepts and that, because that's
Okay.
going to be heavily. So
Hmm.
it's becoming more and more the utility based, right? The evaluation procedure. So
Yeah, yeah.
and there is obviously elimination procedures. So you need to eliminate from the vast majority of students who are sitting at the placements, right? So you would use various kind of filters.
Filters,
Choose
of course.
the yeah, choose the best ranking students from those filters. Like even if it is CG, if it is code forces, it's code chef, whatever filter you choose for the rule, and then based on that, you are going to just select best ranking students from that, and those you would send over for interview.
I think like all the HFTs primarily take from only top IITs or something, right? As of right now.
Yeah, I don't think any go out of the five or six IITs that we have, the oldest five, six IITs,
Hmm.
uh, pretty much on campus at least. Off campus,
Hmm.
more, of course, may apply anytime and get selected.
Yeah, but
Uh,
off campus, do they take or mostly
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
campus?
No, no. They did. You have to, the interview rounds are going to be a bit more rigorous, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and a bit more prolonged. But apart from that, they do think
Okay.
you are as likely to be seated off campus as you are on campus.
On cam.
Probably are more because off campus you are among a lesser pool of students, right? And means the on campus procedure is always very rushed. You
Mm-hmm.
have a fixed amount of time. All companies are out there, and you have to just quickly do interviews and quickly shortlist people. Right? Off-campus procedure, the companies can take their own time to vet you out. If you are a good candidate, you will still be selected.
Mm-hmm.
So that's there.
That makes complete sense. And even in on campus, like only like 1% of the people who are sitting for placements get selected. So it's really competitive on campus as well,
Right.
right?
It is comfortable.
Hmm. But like, do you think like since like will there be more HFTs coming up, or like the trend is going to like stagnate right now?
It's hard to predict. It's like predicting how the economy is going to behave 2 to 3 years down the
Yeah,
line.
yeah,
It's
that
it's
that
so, so,
is.
so dynamic. It's so dynamic.
Hmm.
You never know what is going to happen. But yeah, as things stand, that the firms are rapidly expanding
Yeah.
because these markets right now are Indian markets and markets worldwide right now are very volatile. So these firms are generating good cash revenues from the markets. So let's see. So they are expanding, right? As in, so it's always like since there are lesser number of firms right now, so they have so there is chances of expansion. More firms
Hmm.
are getting added as we speak. Then obviously the stagnation is going to rise, right? The same happened in the HFT industry of US actually.
Hmm.
And around the recession period, or maybe just after the recession period, the HFT industry kind of stagnated there, uh, which kind of makes sense since the market volumes also kind of stagnant after that, even fell actually. So
Hmm.
the all depends upon how the market is behaving, right? If the market volumes continue to surge, right, as they are right doing for the last 4 or 5 years, then we can see a decent growth in these firms. If it does not, then of course, then there would be of course downsizing, so to speak.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah, but
that
yeah,
that makes sense.
Anyway, all of this is a perspective of a fisher, so it should be taken with a handful of
Pinch of
salt, I
salt,
think.
yeah,
Handful, I would say.
yeah.
So,
Handful, okay.
so
Okay.
yeah,
That was nice, Archisman. So we covered mostly everything about HFTs, like from your perspective, and if one wants to prepare, how they can go ahead. I think it was a really fruitful discussion for all the audience members as well. And yeah, with this, I think we'll come to the end of the podcast. Thanks a lot, Archisman, for participating in this. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.
thank you everyone. So, thank you, HGP as well.
Yeah.
Bye.